You trust it because it is yellow, sharp, and British. It seems harmless, but one brand on this list, a name nearly every household trusts, was found hiding something in their mustard that could send your blood pressure through the roof. It is probably in your cupboard right now. Mustard is one of the 14 major allergens under UK law. Yet brands are cutting corners with undisclosed fillers, sky-high sodium, and ingredients that interfere with heart medications. By the end of this video, you will know which brands to bin and the two that actually passed every test. Coming in at number 9, we have French's classic yellow mustard. The bright yellow squeeze bottle. You see it at every barbecue, every burger joint, every supermarket condiment aisle in Britain. French's sells itself as the classic, family-friendly American mustard. Mild, simple, fun. The kind of thing you hand to your grandchildren at a summer cookout without a second thought. But flip that bottle over and read the ingredients: distilled vinegar, water, number 1 grade mustard seed. That sounds acceptable so far. Then you hit salt, turmeric, paprika, spice, natural flavor, and garlic powder, natural flavor. That term does an enormous amount of heavy lifting. Under both US and UK food regulations, natural flavor can refer to dozens of chemical compounds extracted from plant or animal sources. You have no idea what it actually is. The label does not tell you. French's does not explain it on their website either. They just expect you to trust 2 words on a bottle. The sodium content is where this gets personal. A single teaspoon of French's contains around 55 milligrams of sodium. That sounds small until you remember that nobody uses a single teaspoon. Most people squeeze a generous line across a hot dog or burger. That is closer to a tablespoon or more. Suddenly you are looking at 170 milligrams of sodium from one condiment on one item in one meal. For seniors managing blood pressure, the NHS recommends no more than 6 grams of salt per day. That is roughly 2,300 milligrams of sodium. Condiments like this quietly eat into that limit before you have even sat down to your main course. Squeeze some onto your plate right now if you have it. Watch how watery it runs. Thin. Almost translucent. That neon yellow color is not from the mustard seed, it is from the turmeric and paprika doing all the visual work. Real mustard has body. This has the consistency of colored water. For anyone on ACE inhibitors or potassium-sparing diuretics, extra sodium makes those medications fight harder to do their job. French's does not warn you about that, they just put a smiley bottle on the shelf and call it classic. At number 8, it is Heinz yellow mustard. The name Heinz carries weight in British kitchens. Ketchup, baked beans, salad cream. When Heinz puts its label on something, people trust it instantly. Their yellow mustard, marketed as New York deli style, promises an authentic American mustard experience. Bold packaging, premium positioning, but look closer. The ingredients include spirit vinegar, water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, and spice extracts. Spice extracts, another vague term hiding behind a familiar brand name. You do not know which spices, you do not know how they were extracted, you do not know whether those extracts were processed alongside other allergens. And here is the issue Heinz would rather you did not think about. Their yellow mustard contains roughly 60 milligrams of sodium per teaspoon. Again, nobody stops at 1 teaspoon. Heinz knows this. Their serving sizes are designed to make the nutritional information look modest on the label. A realistic portion doubles or triples that sodium count. Open a bottle and squeeze it into a bowl. Watch how it pools. Flat, runny, with an artificial sheen that catches the light. Smell it. There is a sharp vinegar bite that overwhelms everything else. That is not the complex heat of real mustard. That is acetic acid doing all the talking. For seniors with chronic kidney disease, even moderate sodium increases force your kidneys to work harder, filtering excess fluid. Over time, that strain compounds. Heinz built their empire on trust. Their yellow mustard trades on that trust without earning it. But this is mild compared to what is sitting at number 4. That one involves something most people would never even think to check on a mustard label. Now at number 7, we have Asda Just Essentials English Mustard. This is the budget option, the jar that costs less than £1. For seniors on a fixed pension or families stretching their weekly shop, it looks like a smart choice. Asda markets it as essential. The name itself implies this is all you need, just the basics. Nothing fancy, nothing harmful. Read the ingredients. Water, mustard flour, wheat flour, sugar, salt, turmeric, acid and thickener in the form of xanthan gum. Wheat. Flour. Right there, second or third on the list depending on the batch. Wheat flour is significantly cheaper than mustard flour. It is a bulking agent, a filler. It dilutes the actual mustard content and replaces it with starch. You are paying for mustard and getting padded out with cheap wheat. The label says English mustard, but the jar is more wheat paste than condiment. For anyone with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, that wheat flour is a direct threat. Under UK law, wheat must be declared as an allergen and it is listed. But the problem is positioning. Asda calls this product English mustard. The word wheat does not appear on the front of the jar. You have to turn it around and squint at the small print. According to Coeliac UK, roughly 1 in 100 people in Britain have coeliac disease. Many remain undiagnosed. Xanthan gum, the thickener, has also raised questions. Some research suggests it may disrupt gut bacteria when consumed regularly. The amounts in a single serving of mustard are small, but for seniors already dealing with digestive issues or taking medication for acid reflux, every additive matters. Unscrew the lid and look inside. The colour is a dull, pale yellow, not the vibrant gold of real mustard. It smells flat, almost starchy. That is the wheat flour you are smelling, not mustard seed. Why do you think these budget brands are allowed to call something English mustard when half the jar is filler? Drop your thoughts below. Now, if any of this is making you rethink what is in your cupboard, good. But here is the thing most people never find out. There is a simple way to spot a bad mustard before you even open the jar. We will break it down at the very end of this video. Keep watching. At number 6, it is Sainsbury's by Sainsbury's English Mustard. Another supermarket own label product, another familiar name that shoppers trust because they trust the store. Sainsbury's has been a pillar of British grocery shopping for over 150 years. When they put their name on an English mustard, you expect a certain standard. The ingredients tell a different story. Water, mustard flour at around 20%, sugar, salt, wheat flour with added calcium carbonate, iron, niacin and thiamine, turmeric, citric acid, and xanthan gum. Notice that wheat flour again, and notice the sugar sitting ahead of salt in the list. That means there is more sugar than salt in this mustard by weight. English mustard should be about heat and sharpness. Sugar dulls that heat. It is there to make a cheaper product taste smoother and more palatable, so you do not notice the missing mustard. The fortified wheat flour with its added calcium and iron sounds like a health benefit. It is not. Those are mandatory fortification requirements for all wheat flour sold in the UK. They are not added because Sainsbury's cares about your nutrition. They are added because the law demands it for every bag of wheat flour in the country. Single tablespoon of this mustard contains nearly 8% of your recommended daily sodium intake. Most people use far more than that, especially when stirring mustard into a cheese sauce or spreading it across a roast. For seniors managing type 2 diabetes alongside blood pressure, hidden sugar in condiments creates an invisible problem. Your glucose spikes, your insulin response kicks in, and you never suspected the mustard. Halfway through the list, number 5 is Miele Dijon Originale. The elegant glass jar, the name that sounds like a French countryside afternoon. Miele has been producing mustard since 1747, nearly 3 centuries of heritage. When you pick up that jar in Waitrose or Tesco, you feel like you are buying something authentic, something premium, something safe. Here is what they do not want you to know. Miele is owned by Unilever, one of the largest multinational corporations on the planet. In 2019, Unilever's American division was hit with a class action lawsuit. Consumers allege that Miele mustard was marketed as if it were made in France when it was actually manufactured in Canada for certain markets. The packaging, the branding, the entire aesthetic was designed to evoke French artisan quality. The reality was industrial production across the Atlantic. Now, the Miele sold in UK stores is typically imported from France. But the principle remains. This is a corporate product wearing artisan clothing. The sodium content in Miele Dijon is roughly 120 milligrams per teaspoon. Dijon mustard in general runs higher in sodium than English or American varieties because of the white wine and brine used in production. Unscrew the lid and smell it. There is sharpness, yes, but underneath there is a metallic tang. That is the industrial processing at scale. For seniors on blood thinners like warfarin, Miele contains no specific warnings about vitamin K interactions. Mustard greens and seeds do contain vitamin K, which affects how warfarin works in your body. Nobody tells you this on the label. Now, there are 2 mustard brands that got everything right. Clean ingredients, honest labels, safe for anyone on heart or blood pressure medication. We will reveal them after the countdown. But first, the list gets worse. If you are learning things about your food that nobody else is telling you, hit subscribe now. It is free and it means you will never miss these exposes. At number 4, we have Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. The brand that advertised itself in the back of Rolls-Royces. The mustard of sophistication. You find it in Waitrose, Marks & Spencer, and Ocado. It signals refinement, quality, discernment. Grey Poupon is owned by Kraft Heinz, one of the most aggressive food conglomerates in the world. The same company behind processed cheese slices and tinned spaghetti. Let that contrast sink in for a moment. The premium mustard on your shelf comes from the same corporate machine as budget processed food. The ingredients include water, mustard seed, vinegar, salt, white wine, citric acid, turmeric, and tartaric acid. Tartaric acid is used as an acidity regulator. It is generally recognized as safe, but for seniors with kidney issues, tartaric acid must be processed by the kidneys. Additional acid load on already compromised organs is not something Grey Poupon mentions anywhere. White wine is listed as an ingredient, which means this product contains sulfites. Sulfites are a known trigger for asthma and allergic reactions. The FSA lists sulfites among the 14 major allergens in the UK. Grey Poupon declares this, but how many shoppers actually connect white wine with sulfites? Very few. Grey Poupon also contains sulfur dioxide as a byproduct of the white wine. Sulfur dioxide is a preservative that the FSA classifies as an allergen. Studies suggest that up to 10% of asthma sufferers are sensitive to sulfites. For seniors with respiratory conditions, even small exposures can trigger wheezing, chest tightness, and breathing difficulty. None of this is obvious from the front of the jar. The front says Dijon mustard in elegant script. The danger is buried on the back in tiny print. Open the jar and dip a spoon in. The texture is thick and smooth, almost too smooth. It coats the spoon like paint. Real stone-ground mustard has visible seeds and a rough character. This is engineered consistency designed to feel luxurious. Swirl it under your nose and there is a vinegar sharpness with a faint wine note that whispers sophistication. But that whisper is covering up industrial processing at massive scale. Kraft Heinz processes food across dozens of factories worldwide. The romantic Dijon image is marketing, not reality. And if you think that is concerning, wait until you hear what number 1 did. That one made us question whether any of these brands actually care about your health. Look, most people will never learn. What we are about to share at the end of this video. It is the one thing that separates people who keep getting fooled by labels from people who actually know what is safe. Stick around. The solution is coming and it could change the way you shop for good. Number 3, and this one stung, it is Tesco English mustard. Tesco, the biggest supermarket chain in Britain. 1 in every £3 spent on groceries in this country goes through a Tesco till. Their English mustard sits in millions of kitchens. The blue and white label, the familiar Tesco branding. It feels safe because Tesco feels safe. The ingredients are almost identical to the other own label brands. Water, mustard flour, sugar, salt, wheat flour with mandatory fortification, turmeric, citric acid, and xanthan gum. The same filler pattern. The same hidden sugar, the same wheat flour padding. But Tesco carries an additional shadow. In 2024, the Food Standards Agency issued a massive rolling recall, FGS. Ingredients Limited, a major UK spice supplier, was found to have mustard powder contaminated with undeclared peanuts. The recall stretched across 12 updates. Products sold under multiple brand names at multiple retailers were affected. Peanut contamination in mustard powder is not a small issue. Peanut allergy affects roughly 1 in 50 children and 1 in 200 adults in the UK. For someone with a severe peanut allergy, even trace amounts can trigger anaphylaxis, a life-threatening reaction that can kill within minutes. Anaphylaxis causes airways to swell, blood pressure to plummet, and organs to shut down. Every year in the UK, around 10 people die from food-induced anaphylaxis. The recall raised a fundamental question about supply chain integrity. If a major ingredient supplier can contaminate mustard powder with peanuts, and it takes months of rolling updates to identify every affected product, how safe is the system that is supposed to protect you? Tesco's own label. Mustard is manufactured using ingredients sourced through complex supply chains. The brand on the front says Tesco. The reality behind that label involves third-party suppliers, contract manufacturers, and ingredient processors that you will never see or know about. Unscrew the jar and the smell is familiar, sharp but starchy. That same flat wheat flour undertone you find in every budget English mustard. The colour is bright but somehow lifeless, like a photocopy of real mustard. Dab some on your finger and feel the texture. It is smooth in a way that feels manufactured, not crafted. For seniors on blood pressure medication who also have food allergies, this is a double threat. The sodium and fillers strain your cardiovascular system, while undisclosed allergens put your immune system at risk. Isn't it strange how the brands that cost the least often carry the most hidden dangers? Do you think you're saving money or just transferring the cost to your health? Tell me in the comments. At number 2, and this one might surprise you, it is Heinz English Mustard Classic Style Hot. Yes, Heinz appears twice on this list. That is how deep the problem runs. Heinz English Mustard is positioned as the direct competitor to Coleman's classic British style. Hot, reliable, the red label, the Heinz Keystone logo. For many households, this is the jar they reach for when Coleman's is out of stock. The ingredients include water, mustard flour at 22%, sugar, salt, wheat flour, turmeric, citric acid, and xanthan gum. Sound familiar? It should. It is essentially the same formula as every supermarket own-label English mustard on this list. Heinz charges a premium for what is fundamentally a branded version of the same filler-heavy product. 22% mustard flour means 78% of this jar is water, wheat flour, sugar, salt, and additives. You are paying for the Heinz name, not for mustard. The sugar content is particularly troubling. According to Public Health England, adults in the UK consume roughly double the recommended amount of free sugars daily. Hidden sugar in condiments is one of the most overlooked contributors. You would never put a spoonful of sugar in your mouth before eating your ham sandwich, but that is effectively what Heinz is doing for you invisibly with every serving. Smell this mustard straight from the jar. There is a sweetness underneath the heat that should not be there. Real English mustard is sharp and fierce. This is tamed, softened, made gentle by sugar so it appeals to the widest possible market. Dab some on a plate and look at the consistency. Thick, glossy, almost like a paste. That gloss comes from the xanthan gum binding everything together into an artificial smoothness. Run your finger through it. It clings and stretches in a way that natural mustard does not. Natural mustard breaks and crumbles. This is held together by science, not tradition. For anyone managing blood sugar, this is sabotage dressed up as a condiment. For anyone who thought the Heinz name guaranteed quality, it guarantees a formula designed for maximum shelf life and minimum cost. Have you ever checked the back of your favourite mustard jar and been shocked by what you found? Drop a comment right now. Let us know which brand surprised you the most. But even this does not compare to number 1. That brand, the one almost everyone has in their fridge, did something that crosses a line most people do not even know exists. And the number 1 UK mustard brand to avoid, the one we have been building to, is Coleman's Original English Mustard. There it is. The bull's head, the yellow jar, the brand that has defined English mustard since 1814. Over 200 years of history. Norwich-born and British to the bone. Coleman's is not just a mustard brand, it is a national institution. Your grandparents used it, your parents used it, you use it. It sits in more British kitchens than any other. Mustard on the market. The label says Original English Mustard. The advertising evokes tradition, heritage, authenticity. Coleman's wants you to believe you are buying the same mustard that has graced British tables for 2 centuries. Now read the ingredients. Water, mustard flour at 21%, sugar, salt, wheat flour with mandatory fortification, turmeric, citric acid, xanthan gum, 21% mustard flour. That means 79% of this so-called original English mustard is not mustard. It is water, sugar, salt, wheat starch, and chemical thickeners. The brand that built its entire identity on the purity and power of English mustard seed is selling you a jar that is nearly 80% filler. Here is a statistic that should stop you cold. According to blood pressure research, approximately 1 in 3 adults in the UK has high blood pressure. Many do not know it because there are often no symptoms. The NHS warns that condiments like mustard and ketchup are hidden sodium traps. A single tablespoon of Coleman's prepared English mustard contains approximately 180 milligrams of sodium. That is 8% of your entire recommended daily intake from one condiment. Most people do not measure their mustard with a tablespoon. They spread it generously. They stir it into sauces. They mix it into salad dressings. Real-world usage can easily push that to 3 or 4 servings per meal. That is up to 32% of your daily sodium from mustard alone. For seniors managing blood pressure, taking heart medication, or watching their kidneys, this is the brand that could be quietly working against you every single day. And here is the detail that makes this truly personal. If you are taking ACE inhibitors like ramipril or lisinopril, excess sodium directly counteracts those medications. Your doctor prescribes them to relax your blood vessels and lower pressure. Then you spread Coleman's on your sandwich and push that pressure right back up. The medication fights the mustard fights the medication. Your heart sits in the middle of that war. Coleman's is owned by Unilever, the same multinational behind Mile. They own your heritage, they own your tradition, and they have diluted it with wheat flour and sugar and sold it back to you at a premium. Open the jar right now if you have one. Look at the color. Bright, almost artificially vibrant yellow. That is turmeric compensation for the missing mustard seed. Smell it. There is heat, yes, but there is also a floury, starchy undertone that real pure mustard does not have. That is the wheat flour you are inhaling. Dip your finger in and rub it between your thumb and forefinger. Feel how smooth and pasty it is. Real mustard made from pure seed and liquid has a grainier, rawer quality. This is engineered smoothness designed to disguise what is missing. 200 years of heritage reduced to a jar of flavoured wheat paste with a famous label. And that is the #1 mustard brand in the UK that we believe you should avoid. Remember earlier when I said there were 2 brands that actually passed every test? Here they are. And remember that simple trick I promised for spotting a bad mustard before you even open the jar? This is where it all comes together. The first safe option is Tracklement's Strong English Mustard. This Wiltshire-based company has been making condiments by hand in small batches for over 45 years. They are B Corp certified, which means their ethical and environmental practices have been independently verified. Look at the ingredients. Mustard flour at 39%, water, cider vinegar, sea salt, concentrated lemon juice, raw cane sugar, turmeric. That is it. No wheat flour filler, no xanthan gum, no vague natural flavours, no mystery spice extracts. 39% mustard flour compared to Coleman's 21%. Nearly double the actual mustard content. The difference is night and day. Tracklement's uses cider vinegar instead of spirit vinegar, which means a more natural fermentation process and a cleaner flavour profile. Their sea salt is not hidden behind layers of sugar. It is transparent and minimal. For seniors watching blood pressure or managing heart medication, Tracklement's keeps things honest. You can see exactly what is in the jar and make an informed decision about how much sodium you are consuming. No guessing, no hidden fillers. Open a jar and the difference hits you immediately. The colour is deeper, more golden, with a natural richness that comes from actual mustard, not turmeric compensation. Smell it and the heat rises straight to your nose. Sharp, clean and fierce. That is 39% mustard flour doing what mustard is supposed to do. The texture has a slight grain to it. You can feel the mustard seed in every bite. It is not engineered smoothness. It is real food made properly. Their whole grain mustard is equally clean with cider vinegar, mustard seed at 29%, water, sea salt, black peppercorns, allspice and chilies. No wheat, no xanthan gum, no mystery ingredients, just 6 recognizable components. The second recommendation is Coleman's mustard powder. Yes, the same Coleman's. But here is the twist, and this is the solution I have been teasing since the beginning. Coleman's mustard powder contains 1 ingredient. Mustard flour, that is it. 100% ground mustard seed, no salt, no sugar, no wheat flour, no xanthan gum, no water, nothing. Just pure English mustard seed, double milled and super fine. When you mix it yourself at home with cold water, you control everything. You decide how much salt goes in. You decide whether to add sugar or leave it out entirely. You control the sodium. You control the consistency. You control what goes into your body. The powder has virtually 0 sodium per serving because there is no added salt. For anyone on a restricted sodium diet, managing kidney function or taking blood pressure medication, this is the cleanest possible English mustard you can use. This is the simple switch I mentioned earlier. One small change in your cupboard, swapping the prepared jar for the powder tin, and you take back control of what you eat. That trick I promised for spotting a bad mustard? Here it is. Turn the jar around. Look for the mustard flour percentage. If it is below 30%, the jar is more filler than mustard. If wheat flour appears anywhere in the list, you are paying for starch, not condiment. If sugar sits above salt, the recipe is designed to mask cheap ingredients. 3 checks, 5 seconds, and you never get fooled again. That is the truth about UK mustard. Now you know more than most people ever will. From hidden wheat fillers to dangerously high sodium, the brands you trusted have not been trusting you back. Small changes protect your health for years. If you want to keep protecting yourself and your family from hidden dangers in everyday food, subscribe now, and if you are watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.